All right, welcome to another episode of Perspective. I'm here with Hannah Farr. I've actually known Hannah for a little bit now. And well, actually, Hannah, can you go ahead and introduce yourself? You know, who you are, what you're up to?
Yeah, my name is Hannah Farr, and I am the artistic director and founder of Westworks Theater. And we incorporated in, January of 2017. So we've been around for a few years. And we are currently working on getting our own facility built out in Eagle Mountain that we hope to start construction on next year and that we hope to complete within a couple years. And I'm from Portland, Oregon. I moved here in 2013 to save up money and live with my grandparents so I could move to New York. But instead, I met my husband, and then we had a baby, and then we bought a house, and then we had another baby, and then we built a house. And so, so I realized, I was obviously gonna be here for a while, and I had worked at Hale Center Theater and Sundance Theater a couple times. But out in my area, there was really nothing going on. And so I had a friend who told me to never ever start my own theater company. She said, don't ever do it. It's way too hard. And so I always just had that running in the back of my mind. And then I just couldn't really put it off anymore because I just kept thinking about how, this area of Eagle Mountain, we're the fastest growing area in Utah right now, or at least I think so, or at least one of the fastest growing areas of Utah. And there are so many people moving out here, especially young people, and there aren't a lot of arts programs going on, and there's not any sort of professional theater company on the west side of Utah Lake at all. And so that is my goal, is to have a professional theater company on the west side of Utah Lake that really becomes the theater presence of the area as it grows. That kind of evolved from introduce yourself into tell me about everything. So sorry.
Well, perfect. No, we'll end right there. No, I'm just kidding. So, okay, so you said a friend told you never to, start your own theater company. So I'm curious, was that like a goal that you had earlier on? Was like, when did that
It
thought
was
come?
actually, so she started her own theater company. She was a mentor to me when I was in high school. She's probably, I think she's close to 10 years older than me, maybe 12 years older than me. So she was about my age doing her theater company thing when I was in high school, getting ready to go off to college and get my degree in acting. And just in passing one day, she was like, oh, never start your own theater company. It's way too difficult, And so that kind of stuck with me for some reason. And in despite of that, even, I still just couldn't ignore the, I don't know what to call it besides the call, but that sounds really cheesy to me, but I couldn't ignore the impulse that I had to give it a try. And I figured, I'll give it a try. And if I don't like it, and if it is too hard, then I can always stop, but so far I haven't yet. So
Okay, so you say you started in 2017.
yeah.
So what were some challenges that you guys faced when you first started?
Oh boy. And so many. I mean, we still experience so many, but the biggest challenge we have is the lack of space. There's no space to perform in out here that's affordable. If we want to rent a school to perform at, it costs at least $100 an hour, plus paying janitorial staff and any technical equipment that we want to use. We have to pay their staff to run that technical equipment. So it can be up to like $150 to $200 an hour. And since we aren't like a community theater group that is linked to Eagle Mountain City or Saratoga Springs, we're our own nonprofit entity, we don't get any special, we don't get like the low discount rate for renting the schools or the facilities. So that's been a real challenge. I would say that's our biggest challenge, honestly. I think we do really, really well with a lot of other things, but I think what is holding us back the most and what is making everything else harder is not having our own space, because then, we have to store everything offsite. We have to load everything in and out for every show and for every rehearsal, and we have to set up our equipment and then take it down. We can only run shows for one weekend because we can't rent all the time in between the weekends. Right. So we can do like 5 shows maximum. And that makes it hard to profit on a show, because you spend a lot of money setting up the show, and then you run the show for one weekend, and you're lucky if you kind of make your money back. But if you could run a show for a longer period of time, because you've already spent the money setting up the show, that's what makes theater profitable, is your ability to set up the show once, pay for all the costumes and the set pieces one time, and all the rehearsal and the music director and everything, pay for all that set up one time, and then run it for a longer period of time. But for us, we can't do that. So we're just trying to float by as best we can until we can get this space of ours. And then I think we'll really take off.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered the fact that, yeah, you had to, I guess it's almost like anything, like any entertainment, the one makes it profitable, or makes at least be able to cover all the expenses, is to run it for more than just a weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
So I remember, now I apologize because I didn't do enough homework on this part, but I remember hearing about I think you guys were applying for a grant or something for to have your own space. Am I correct on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't really launched our major fundraising campaign for the space yet. We did. I mean, Facebook gave us like a small grant for some equipment, and there's talk of them possibly, being more involved in the future as we move forward. But we haven't started our major fundraising campaign yet, because we are currently getting our plans drawn up. And it's really hard for us to set accurate budgets without having those plans.
Mm-hmm.
And because when what we experienced was, when we tried to approach people, they would say, well, how much do you need? And we'd say, well, we think we need this much, but we don't really know because we don't have real plans. And we've got these rough estimates. So we're trying to get more specific and accurate about exactly how much we need, so we can make really specific asks of people and get people involved in ways that are really clear and accurate. And so we haven't gotten any grants yet, but we will be applying for those. And yeah.
Yeah, actually, as we were talking, I think what it was that I remember seeing was that you got approval from Eagle Mountain to have your own space. Is that what it was?
So we've got the approval to move forward with the space. Basically, it's kind of difficult because we have this memorandum of understanding with them, which means that they intend to lease us this land to build this theater, but we still have to get our plans approved and passed through Planning Commission, then City Council. So we've got like the pre-project green light, but we won't have like the final, yes, you can build this here totally for sure, until we can get those plans passed through Planning Commission and City Council.
Gotcha. So up until now, because I know you guys are a nonprofit, so up until now, how have you been able to put on your shows, like raise money and get all the stuff that you've needed?
We've done a little bit of fundraising just through local businesses. We've been sponsored by Tyson Foods, Right Engineers, and a few other small businesses have given us some money, but a lot of it is our own ticket sales, really, and then some other personal donations from patrons or board members. But we really, really try. We're all about keeping things simple and innovative storytelling, not only because that's really cost effective, but because there's a lot of theater in Utah that's very spectacle oriented, right? You go to the show and like things are on fire and the stage can actually flood itself and they've got like fancy everything, or like there's a lot of a lot of theater where a lot of money is spent on the spectacle, and we feel that the money should be spent on the story and then on individuals who are giving up their time to create that. And obviously we've been a volunteer the past 3 years, but this is the first year that we're making the leap to paying stipends. So, and then we just hope to be able to increase that over the years as we can. But now I'm losing track of where I was headed with this. What was your original question?
So the original question was how up until now, how have you been able to
Right.
donation,
Yeah. Okay.
do all the stuff that you?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically through our own ticket sales and being really innovative and extremely resourceful. I would say that we are some of the most resourceful people I know, and probably the best problem solvers. Like if there's a problem, if you put it to our board, I can guarantee you we'll come up with a lot of really great solutions because we've had to, we rely on so many other people's schedules and other people's time, because we don't have our own space. So oftentimes, there's an issue of, oh, well, we can't use this space anymore, or well, we can't have this space until this date now when we expected to have it earlier, or well, this person dropped out because of this, or whatever. And so we've had to deal with a lot of really big hurdles that I think we solve really well. And because of our resourcefulness, I think that's how we've survived this long without having a space of our own.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I think definitely. Well, when you have only a little bit to work with, you definitely have to innovate, and that's actually awesome. That I don't know, just hearing that part of the story makes me think that when you guys get even bigger, you guys are just setting up yourself for a really good foundation.
Yeah, I really think we are, and we always think about, what's going to happen with, like, look at how resourceful we are now, and we think about, some companies who have a lot of money and aren't very resourceful, and we're like, if we just had like half of that, we could do so much, or like a quarter of that. And so I think we really will, once we do get some more cash flow going. I think we're going to do some really incredible things with that, and I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do, even with just a little bit more funding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this wasn't necessarily why I brought you on the podcast, but the podcast is called Perspective. And I think you're gaining that perspective of knowing how to stretch that dollar. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting once you guys do have more funding and everything, what you've been able to do with that.
Sorry, what did you say?
I'll just saying that it's going to be really exciting to see what you guys are able to do with that once you have more funding.
Yes, for sure. We're excited about that.
Well, so you said, so far, most of your people have been volunteers, volunteer actors, volunteer crew, casting crew.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you get people to volunteer? What was your pitch on that?
Artists do this thing where we continually give of our time and our efforts because they're passionate about something, even though maybe we shouldn't. And we can't stay away from something even if it is, not paid oftentimes. And I don't advocate for that. Actually, I obviously, it's great to have artistic outlets, but I do think that artists should be better about guarding their time and asking for compensation, which is why we feel really important about making that a part of our company now and taking that next step. But honestly, I think it just comes down to, you have friends who like you and who like your projects and who like to work with you. And so they jump in, and then their friends jump in because they like to work with them. And then you kind of create this new tight-knit family of people who like to work with each other, and they keep coming back. And I think that has worked for us for the past 3 years, but I don't think that model is sustainable anymore for the quality of theater we want to create. I think we've been able to do some really great things because some of our friends are like, oh yeah, this sounds fun, I'll jump in and do this, but they're not going to be able to do that continually for no pay. Yeah. Right? It's kind of we'll jump in and we'll get this going. We'll do you this favor. We'll help you out. But then we kind of realized, no other business is going to be like, you know what, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to sell ice cream. And you guys who are scooping the ice cream, eventually I'm going to pay you, but we're just going to start out volunteer. We realized, that if we ever want to be legitimate, and we want to be a legitimate professional regional theater. If we ever want that, we can't operate that way. And though it's scary to make the leap towards paying people, even if it's just a tiny amount, like obviously we can't pay people like equity actor rates or anything, but we can pay a little bit. And we just always want to make sure that the ratio of the money we bring in and then the money that we're paying people is a good ratio, that we're putting a lot of the profits that we make towards compensating our artists. And though we don't bring in a lot of profit right now, we can do our best to put a large portion of that towards compensating our artists. But honestly, it's just been our friends and the friends of those friends, and people get excited about a project and they want to put their hearts into it, and that's how we've survived until now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm curious about you. When did your, I guess, love and passion for theater start?
I've thought about that a lot, and I can never really pin it down. I listened to tons of musical soundtracks in junior high and high school, and I did drama and I was in plays, but I can never really pinpoint the moment that I was like, this is what my life is about, or this is the thing that I do. This is what I'm good at. It just kind of evolved and was always understood that that's what I was going to be doing. So it's hard for me to think of like the one moment that it evolved from. But I was fortunate to have an incredible drama program in high school and an incredible choir program. So I had some really great experience with teachers in theater and music. And then obviously my education at Southern Oregon University was great. But there's not one moment that I can think of that was kind of the moment that it began for me. It just kind of was always an understood thing from the moment that I can remember, which is weird. But
Well, it's awesome. Like, it just sounds like it's just always been something in you, always been a part of you.
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously at some point, there must have been, I think it's just a lot of little things that happened along the way. For me, and theater in high school obviously was a big part of that. It really was a confidence builder. That was when I really stepped into, I feel like, who I really was, because of the confidence that doing theater brought, and the friends that it brought, and the circle of friends that it brought, and having that confidence really allowed my personality to kind of flourish. So high school was a big part of it. But I was not good when I started. I was not good. In fact, I had a scene partner in high school who said, I cannot work with her. She is terrible. Like, ah. I was in a play in middle school, and I was like really, really, really bad. And my mom was like, yeah, when you told me you were taking drama in high school, I was like, oh no, because that play in middle school was not very good. But and a lot of people have this attitude that like theater is something, or acting is something that can't be taught, and blah blah blah, which I think is real BS. I think that anybody, those are my children running around and screaming through the hallway. I think anybody can be taught to act, and I'm proof of that, because I did not have this like natural confidence or charisma, or really, it was brought out of me through learning about theater. So I think anybody can learn if they want to. I don't think it's something you have to be born with, or some innate sense of whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, when you, maybe, I don't know, from like parents or friends, some random person on Facebook. Did you ever get any, I don't want to say backlash, but um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, was it when you said, okay, I want to go study, theater in college, this is what I want to do with my life. Did you ever get any like people telling you, hey, you shouldn't be doing that?
Um, I mean, I had a pretty supportive family for the most part, but there are definitely people who say things like, "Well, that's not gonna make any money," or "That's not a real career," or you need to also be studying something for a real job. And while I look back on those and I think about, oh, they're so mean and they just don't understand how passionate I am, I think that it is really important as an actor to also have a secondary skill, because I mean the reality of the world is that actors are a dime a dozen and there are so many of them, and you're not going to have a steady income unless you become famous in film. Or I mean, even like Broadway actors who do a lot of stuff, they don't always have a job, and you could be at the top of Broadway at one moment and then you could not be cast in something else for a long time, because it's about who's right for the part, not necessarily about, well, you're a really good actor, so obviously I've just got to find a job for you. It's about who they need in the play at that time, and it might not be you. And so but the thing is that with a theater degree, it's so applicable to so many things. You can get a theater degree and then you can get jobs in public speaking or art type jobs, or even management type jobs, or jobs where you help companies, or like mediation type jobs where you help people work together better, because theater is all about collaboration and learning to work with different types of personalities. And really it's like the study of life and the world. So I feel like it's really applicable to a lot of things. But in hindsight too, like, you don't need a college degree to, I mean, some people would disagree with me here, but I don't think you need a college degree to be great at theater. I think you need training. So I think you need to be trained well, but I don't think you need a degree. Like, my degree is not what's made me successful. My training is, but nobody's looking at me when I go into an audition and saying, oh, she has a degree, we'll definitely gonna cast her. Like, they don't care about that. They're looking at, is she right for the part? Can she sing well? Does she know how to act? They're not looking, well, she has a BFA, so obviously I'm going to give her this part. So that was kind of a long-winded answer to your question. You're probably finding out that I'm long-winded by now, but
No, I actually really enjoyed that answer. Because I actually answered another question that I was going to ask, but you already answered it.
okay.
So what what lessons have you personally learned through doing theater? Like, how has it helped you?
One of the biggest lessons I have learned is to be gracious, because I feel like there's a lot of jealousy that goes on in the theater world. People look at people who get parts that they wanted and they think, oh, I just wish I had that part, or they're jealous of that person or whatever. And I remember I was in a play, and the woman who had got the lead part that I wanted, I remember having all these feelings of like jealousy and frustration towards her. And then I just sort of, I don't know how this came about, but I just sort of had this mind shift where I was like, you know what? Instead of harboring all of this jealousy and frustration, I'm just going to be the most gracious person that I can be in this cast. And it changed me forever, kind of. And also, she became a really dear friend to me. And I think that a lot of people, as they grow in the theater world, when you first start out in the theater world, it kind of is all about immediate gratification, getting that praise and applause from the audience, the thrill of being on the stage. But as you grow in it, it becomes a lot less about the immediate gratification for you as an actor and more about the connection bonds that you develop between other people, and the relationships and the closeness that you develop as a cast that works on a show. And so there was a lot of insecurity that I was able to kind of shed as I was in more shows, just learning to let go of things like jealousy and worrying about what other people are thinking of me, and worrying that I wasn't good enough, or that people thought that I was bad at acting or whatever. Just kind of, as I performed more, I was able to let that stuff go through learning about myself as I did shows.
That's awesome. So how important would you say it is to have theater and the arts like in our communities?
I mean, obviously, you know what I'm going to say. I mean, um, obviously, I feel that it is very important, mainly because the arts are, so let me put it this way. There are a lot of different avenues for success that are options, right? You know, there's a lot of people find their success in athleticism or in science or in writing or engineering or whatever. And the arts, a lot of people find their success and their connection to life and people through that. And so if we take out that option, we take out that avenue for success for a lot of people. And then when we take out the flourishing of those humans, we take out a lot of good things that could have come about because of them flourishing, right? So, you know, if I wouldn't have had artistic opportunities in high school, it's very likely that I wouldn't have gained the confidence that I did and stepped into my personality, and I would have remained insecure because I couldn't find anything that I was really good at. I wouldn't have had the circle of friends that I had. And it's very likely that I wouldn't have developed all the things that I have now, which have created connections and friendships between people that otherwise wouldn't have been created because of how I was affected from growing in the arts as a young person. So I think I'm not trying to say that I don't think the arts are more important than other aspects of society. I just think to have a complete and full richness of life experience, the arts need to be a part of that.
For sure. Yeah, and I just want to add, kind of like what you were saying earlier, how theater is so applicable to other careers and jobs. I mean, it's just so true
Yeah.
with the arts, whether, it's acting, whether it's writing, whatever it might be, just that ability to, I think creatively, just,
Yeah.
it, it just works so well in any other thing, whether you're a business owner, whether, you're an accountant, just be able to think creatively, I think it's just huge.
Yeah. Creative problem solving is a very critical skill to have, especially in this business world, as the world is growing, I think more entrepreneurial minded, right? And a lot more people are starting their own businesses or are part of startups, and creative problem solving is a huge part of startups. If you start your own company, whether it is a theater company or a marketing company or whatever, you're going to encounter so many hurdles all the time. And obviously that's why a lot of people don't succeed, because they either get tired of jumping the hurdles, or they don't know how to work around the hurdles, or they have a lack mindset and think, well, I'm never going to be able to solve this problem. But oftentimes in the arts, you don't have the option of not solving the problem. Like if you're in the middle of a show and the set breaks, I mean, obviously if it's not safe, you got to stop and make it safe, but you can't just stop the middle of the show. Oftentimes it's like the show must go on, right? So I think that people in the arts really have a growth mindset. They're trained to have a growth mindset, which is really important, I think, for the economy.
Oh, for sure. Okay. All right, well, probably just a couple more questions, then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
So, obviously, with COVID-19 and everything, you guys are a theater company.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how has that affected your company, and what are you guys currently doing to any kind of workarounds, or what are you doing about it?
Yeah, it's affected our company a lot. Obviously, we had to cancel our spring show, and are having to kind of keep a closer eye on our summer shows, and depending on how this virus develops and how long we're going to need to be social distancing to make it safe. And then obviously, keeping an eye on our winter shows in case this flu season becomes a problem with COVID-19 again when the weather gets colder. But again, arts people, I think are the most creative when it comes to problem solving. So we have a few ideas in the works. One of them is a online comedic Shakespeare monologue competition. So we would, let anybody submit any comedic monologue, and then we're right now looking to find sponsors for prize money, so we can offer like a nice cash incentive to get lots of talent to submit, and we'd let anybody from anywhere submit. So, and then I keep having this kind of lofty goal in my head about like, what if we could get some like celebrities to judge this competition? Like if we could figure out how to contact them and be like, hey, we know you're probably bored because you're stuck in your house. Will you watch these monologues and tell us the ones you like best? Like, I'm like, what if we could just get Patrick Stewart to watch like 10 monologues and tell us which ones he liked best? Like, that would be awesome. But I mean, it's all about depending on how you can get in contact with those people. That's the hard part. I'm sure some of them would do it. But that's one of the things we're working on is a Shakespeare competition. Another thing that I have thought of is offering some like classes, like coaching sessions online for, maybe like students or youth or even adults who want to kind of either brush up their Shakespeare skills or acting skills, or even a vocal class or something like that. And then another thing that I have thought about is what if we have people submit recordings of the same like Shakespeare monologue and we edit them all together in like really cool ways into this like new unique piece of theater or something. So there are a few things that we're talking about doing. But obviously theater is live theater, so it's not ideal to be doing stuff virtually, but I think if there's an opportunity to create some really unique things that you wouldn't otherwise be inclined to create. So we're gonna play with that a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with, like what you guys end up doing.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, final question. So, what personally brings you happiness?
Oh, that's a good question. I think what personally brings me the most happiness is simply strong connections to other humans and feeling part of a community, um, feeling close to people, and having a group of people that I can laugh with and be with and that I know care about me and I care about them. I think that's really what brings me the most happiness. I mean, there are a lot of other things that contribute to my happiness, like being outdoors and watching Star Trek and stuff like that. But I think the thing that brings me the most happiness is having strong connections with other people. And I think that's what draws me the most to theater now, is because that is one of the best ways to develop those strong connections and have lots of different types of friendships with people.
Awesome. I love that. So, real quick, so if people are interested, how can they find Westworks Theater? Like, where are you guys on social media? Let them know how they can
Yeah.
connect with you or with the company.
Yeah, so we are on Instagram and Facebook. Our Facebook, you just search Westworks Theater. Our Instagram is WW Theater. That's our Instagram handle. But I'm sure if you also search Westworks Theater, we'd pop up. Our website is westworks.art. So you can check us out there. Um, yeah, those are the best three ways to stay in touch with what we're doing is Instagram, Facebook, and our website.
Awesome. And I'm also going to do another plug for you. If you feel so inclined, Amazon Smile, they are on there as well.
We are Amazon
Personally,
Smile.
I've been using that for you guys. So I've donated like $1 to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've donated maybe like $5 through my purchases. So I think it's like what, like a 0.5% or something like that that you
Yes,
get
I
back.
need to buy more stuff then.
I was like, if we could just get everybody to order their toilet paper in our name, we would be
Yes.
really wealthy.
There you go. Then you can do all your fire and all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Hannah, thank you so much for being on. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a
You bet. Thank you. It was a pleasure.